Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome to Zoe Brown's Reads. And I am Zoe Brown. And today I have decided to launch this book blog, this book vlog, this book review after carrying it for a couple of years. I attended a Zoom kind of workshop and discussion maybe about 2 weeks ago that was hosted by the Zen Education Project. And the title was Women in the Black Panther Party. The discussion was led by Robin C. Spencer and Mary Phillips. And I must say that the fire to truly launch had been relit after I had this conversation or after I participated in this discussion. It was powerful. They spoke about Black women and the power that they had. Not only in the Black Panther Party, but the week before we had a discussion about Mrs. Coretta Scott King and how she was more than just Dr. King's wife. I know personally that after his death, she kind of picked up the torch and she, continued his fight, his legacy. And so I was moved to begin to research. Like while I was on this Zoom, I began to on my phone start researching books and looking at books. And I came across a book that immediately spoke to me. It spoke to my soul. It spoke to my spirit. It spoke to everything that I have been feeling since this pandemic began. But especially within the last few weeks with the death and murder of Ahmaud Arbery, and then the story of Breonna Taylor, and there's so many more names that I could go on, and I was feeling helpless, and I was just tired, and I was hopeless, and I didn't know what I could do. What could I do? Who was I? Like I like to believe that I'm an advocate, that I'm a fighter. Hence Zoe Brown. Zoe is my middle name, and Zoe Brown emerged because it became the voice for me. Zoe Brown became my persona that protected me, that stood up and fought for me, that fought for wrong, that spoke out when others would not. And so this book, y'all, I cannot begin to tell you. Like I was looking for books, and I was trying to find a way to find books that I could share. Not just with my grandbeans. I have two of them, and there's a third one on the way. Not just for them, but for my students, for my colleagues, for parents, for teachers who may be reluctant or scared to have the conversations, who sometimes don't even have the time to maybe do the background or the footwork that needs to be done in order to introduce and use a book or a text to inspire students to change their hearts into their mind and change their minds. And so when I began to search, I was immediately drawn by this book, Woke. And this book, Woke, is written, or Woke, a young poet's call to justice, which is written by Mahagony L. Browne with Elizabeth Acevedo and Olivia Gatwood. It's also illustrated by Theodore Taylor III, and there's a foreword by Jason Reynolds. This book, Woke, A Poet's Call to Justice, this book spoke to me. It spoke to me in volumes. Like I bought, and so I ordered it, and I was excited. I ordered the book, and it arrived maybe last week, and I picked it up, and I looked through it. The artwork spoke to me, the illustration spoke to me, and I flipped through the book, I skimmed through it, and then I put it down. And then I walked past the book the other day. I just walked past the book the other day, and it called me. And I stopped what I was doing, and I picked it up again, and I sat down and I read it, and I thought, oh, this is a book of poetry. I'm going to read, and I'm going to find a few poems that I could use with my students, a few poems that I could use to share with teachers, and even, just a book that I could just give to my grandbeans to add to their collection. And it's funny because I purchased Woke, but a few months ago, I purchased a book called Woke Baby. I had no idea that the author of Woke Baby, Mahagony L. Browne, was the same author of this book, Woke, a young poet's call to justice. Now, I purchased Woke Baby, and of course, I immediately gave it to my sons, so that he could read it with his sons. And I didn't think about it, but like I said, this book spoke to me, and it called me, and it called me in a way that had me thinking, or answered the question, what could I do in this time, in this situation where I'm frustrated? I don't know about everybody else, but I can't do another hashtag. I can't do another symbolic run. Well, I didn't run, but a symbolic walk, or putting on a hoodie, and I just couldn't. I just needed to, and I wanted to do more, and I couldn't figure out how I could do more. It's just me. We're in a lockdown. We're in quarantine. We're teaching remotely. We're all experiencing this pandemic in all kind of ways, and I just needed to do something. And for me, I'm a lover of books. I am a mother. I have a black son, a black daughter. I have nephews and nieces and great nieces, and a brother, and cousins who I fear for daily. And I needed to do something, and I just didn't know what I could do. And it just, all of a sudden, I was skimming through Facebook, and someone posted a message, and they posted a question. It said, what business would you start? What's stopping you from starting your business? And I immediately replied, and I answered in all caps, fear. That little 4-letter word, fear. And I put it out there because, I'm tired of being afraid. I'm tired of being hopeless. I'm tired of being helpless. And I have to do something. Yes, we are in a pandemic. Yes, we are social distancing. But I feel like I have to continue to walk the talk. Like I speak to my students, and I'm trying to teach them how to become advocates, and some of them how to become allies, and how to identify inequities and injustices, and to not just be a bystander, and not just to care about something that is affecting you. Because I believe that we are all affected. We may not personally experience something, but what happens to one of us kind of happens to all of us. And so this book woke a young poet's call to justice. Man, when I tell you that I sat down and I picked up this book and I just began to read. And I pulled out my post-it notes. I am a teacher. I am an avid reader. I believe in stopping and jotting, meaning stopping, not trying to read a book, the whole thing at one time and trying to come back. I believe with interacting with a book. And so I pulled out my handy dandy post-it notes, and I thought I was just going to find maybe one poem. So I pulled out my post-it notes, and man, when I tell you, here you go, you can see all of my post-it notes. These post-it notes, well, it started out with one big post-it note, and it ended up being like 2 or 3 post-it notes that I just ripped in. Yeah, I know they make those little flags, and I know, you can, those removable tab ones. I get it. But hey, I needed to use what I had at the moment. And so I improvised. I just started ripping my post-it note, and I started putting post-it notes on poems that I liked. And I realized that every single poem that I read was a poem that I loved, was a poem that I could connect to, a poem that gave me the meaning of each and every topic that it spoke about. It gave me a true living definition, something that I could hold on to, something that I could connect with and be able to understand it. And I thought, wow, this is an excellent tool for teachers. And I know that in the beginning of the book, there is a foreword by Jason Reynolds. And I love it. There's a poem that he opened up with. But I liked that Mahagony L. Browne wrote, I guess it would be considered an introduction to this book. And it just simply said, what does it mean to be woke? In the simplest sense, it means to be aware. It means to see your surroundings and challenge how we strengthen our relationships with the government, the community, and nature. To be woke is to fight for your civil rights and to fight for the rights of your neighbors. Wow. She goes on to say, to be woke is to understand that equality and justice for some is not equality and justice for all. And we, all of us, parents, students, teachers, children, whoever, all of us must stay alert. We must ask hard questions. We must stand for what is right. Even, and here's the kicker, even when it is difficult and scary. And so I bring and I present this book to you, Woke, a young poet's call to justice, so that we all can become woke. Because this is not a me fight. It's not a we fight. It's not just a black and a brown fight. It's not a LGBTQ fight. It's a fight for all of us. All of us. And it's a book that if you are uncomfortable, that if you are afraid, if you are not familiar, you can pick up this book, Woke, read it, and just simply have a discussion. Teachers can use this book as a teaching tool, as a way to introduce a theme or a topic to students. The art is beautiful. The illustrations are beautiful. It's just beautiful. And the one thing that I say that I really love is that as I read this whole book and I put my post-it notes and I tried to go back and I tried to find a poem that would speak to me the most, and I just could not pick one. But what I did notice is when I started to go back and I started to look at the illustrations, I started looking at the bottom of the page, and I could see that at the bottom of every page there was the topic, the theme for that particular poem, which made it even easier, which makes it, even easier for teachers to be able to use, and with no excuse. It's a book that you can read a poem, show the illustrations, and put it out there. Just throw it out there and see what comes back. It's a way for you to open a conversation, to open the dialogue, to start the discourse, to start talking about what's really the root cause of a lot of the issues and the concerns that we have. So I'm saying to you, if you have time, go get your copy of Woke, A Young Poet's Call to Justice. And thank you for tuning in.